We live in an age and a time where race, gender, ethnicity, origin are all pertinent issues and topics of discussion. So there's no better time to dive into the origin of mankind than now. We stumbled across something very interesting in our Bible study recently. We were discussing the story of creation. We begin with Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over 1, the fish of the sea, 2, the fowl of the air, 3, over the cattle, 4, over all the earth, and 5, over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." It was God's intention to make man in his own image, after his likeness. But then something interesting happens thereafter in verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. But what happened to likeness? In verse 26, the intention was for man to be created in the image and likeness. But here in verse 27, God creates man, male and female, in his image only. And verse 28 reveals the domains given to such men that were created in the image of God. Have dominion over 1, the fish of the sea, 2, the fowl of the air, 3, over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Or cattle's move. So for direct comparison, we can include this as number 4. So these male and female that were made in the image of God were given 4 domains. And there were men across the earth. We know this because in Genesis chapter 4, verse 14, after Cain had killed his brother and had been driven out of the face of the earth, Cain responds, "And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me." And so there were definitely other male and female on the earth. But earlier, in Genesis chapter 2, we're introduced to a special man who was formed and placed in a garden. In verse 19, his name was mentioned for the first time: Adam. Adam and his genealogy is mentioned in Genesis chapter 5, with verse 1 stating, "This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him." Adam was peculiar. He was made in the likeness of God. He not only had dominion over 1, the fish of the sea, 2, the fowl of the air, 3, over the cattle, and 4, over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, but he also had dominion over 5, all the earth. Consistent with Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, he had all 5 domains. Being made in the likeness of God gave him that. Image and likeness. Image refers to an outward appearance. You can look like someone. But likeness transcends so much more. You can look like someone. You can sound like someone. You can walk like someone. You can behave like someone. Adam was made in the likeness of God. He had all 5 domains.